The galaxy was vast and ancient, its civilization spanning eons and light years. The Galactic Concordia, a sprawling coalition of advanced species, served as both an arbiter of peace and a marketplace of power. Membership was a coveted prize, but it came with its perils. No species joined the Concordia without paying some form of toll. When humanity first ventured into interstellar space, it was met with skepticism and scorn. The older species saw Earth as an upstart world, a young, reckless species that had stumbled onto the galactic stage before it was ready. Humanity's inventions, while clever, lacked the refinement of the Krelter's crystalline engineering or the biosymbiotic mastery of the Mirren. Its military strength paled in comparison to the Piran war clans, and its diplomats had yet to master the Concordia's labyrinthine etiquette. And yet, humanity possessed something unique: potential. Raw, untempered, and untapped potential that the older species either ignored or feared. The ambitious among the Concordia saw Earth as an opportunity. Its mineral-rich worlds, fledgling starships, and lack of political experience made it a perfect target for exploitation. The Krelter, the Mirren, and a handful of other dominant species hatched a plan. They would welcome humanity with open arms, offering trade agreements and assistance in developing its infrastructure. What humanity wouldn't realize, until it was too late, was that the deals were traps. It was a familiar game, one the Concordia elites had played countless times before. But this time, they had underestimated their prey. Chapter 1. Bait in the Trap. Concordia Capital, Helion Prime. The Concordia Capital was a city unlike any other, built atop a massive orbital platform suspended in the crimson-hued skies of Helion Prime. Towering spires of crystalline alloys twisted into the heavens, and bioluminescent flora bathed the streets in an ethereal glow. The air was filled with the hum of alien languages and the faint buzz of hovercrafts darting between skybridges. Ambassador Elena Marquez adjusted her tailored suit, the simple yet sharp design a deliberate statement of humanity's pragmatic approach. Flanking her were two aides, one carrying a datapad and the other nervously fiddling with their lapel pin. Behind them, Commander Ravi Patel maintained a silent but imposing presence. His military uniform, adorned with the emblem of the Earth Alliance, was a reminder that humanity would not come unarmed to this table. The council chamber was immense, a circular hall with tiers of seating rising toward a domed ceiling that depicted the galactic map in shimmering holographics. Representatives of countless species sat in their designated sections, their forms ranging from avian to insectoid to purely abstract shapes of light. Elena stepped up to the central podium, her movements deliberate and calm. The room quieted as she began. "Honorable members of the council," she said, her voice firm yet measured. "Earth seeks equitable trade agreements to support mutual growth and prosperity." Before she could continue, the Krelter delegate rose. The Krelter were a crystalline species whose bodies glimmered like faceted diamonds under the chamber's light. Their ambassador, Grelnik 7, radiated disdain. "Equitable?" Grelnik 7's voice had a harsh, metallic edge. "Your species barely understands the technologies you've been gifted. Equitable trade requires equivalence, and humanity has little of value to offer." A ripple of laughter spread through the chamber, though some delegates exchanged uncertain glances. Elena held her ground, her expression calm but her eyes steely. "Perhaps we lack the refinement of your ancient technologies," she said smoothly, "but humanity's history proves that we learn quickly. Creativity and resilience have brought us to this table, and they will keep us here." The Mirren delegate, a serpentine figure with scales that glistened like oil, slithered forward. Ambassador Vliss let out a low hiss. And yet you demand access to our resources and markets as if you are our equal. Such hubris from such a young species is unwise. Elena tilted her head slightly, as if weighing the words carefully. Perhaps. But hubris drives ambition, and ambition drives progress. Isn't that the story of every species here? The chamber fell silent. Even the Krelther ambassador seemed momentarily taken aback. From the shadows, Commander Patel watched the exchange, his sharp eyes scanning the room for signs of overt hostility. He noted how certain delegates whispered among themselves, and how the Mirren's tail flicked with irritation. He leaned slightly toward Elena's aide. "They're baiting her," he murmured, trying to push her off balance. "She's holding up," the aide whispered back, though their hands trembled slightly. Elena pressed on, detailing humanity's vision for cooperation and mutual benefit. She highlighted Earth's rich resources, its growing technological base, and its commitment to interstellar harmony. But as she spoke, she could feel the undercurrents of mockery and disdain. To the coalition leaders, her words were irrelevant. They had already decided humanity's fate. As Elena stepped down from the podium, a flicker of doubt crossed her mind. Were they truly ready for the games being played here? She glanced at Ravi, who gave her a small, reassuring nod. "Let them laugh," he muttered as they left the chamber. "They won't be laughing for long." Outside, the lights of Helion Prime gleamed like stars in the distance, and humanity's delegation prepared for what was to come. They had been underestimated before, and they had always risen to the challenge. This time would be no different. Chapter 2. The Setup. The air in the human embassy on Helion Prime was tense. Despite the grandeur of the city outside, the small Earth delegation occupied a Spartan suite of offices, their resources stretched thin. A holographic projection of the proposed trade agreement hovered in the center of the room, its intricate terms and clauses spinning slowly in midair. Ambassador Elena Marquez stood at the head of the table, arms crossed as she studied the document. Beside her, Commander Ravi Patel paced like a caged predator, his movements sharp and deliberate. "This is a disaster," Ravi said, gesturing toward the hologram. "They're offering us outdated tech, junk that wouldn't pass a basic field test. In exchange, they want massive shipments of our rare earth minerals, tritium deposits, and even energy rights to some of our asteroid fields. If we sign this, we're handing them our future on a silver platter." Elena nodded, her face unreadable. "That's the game they're playing. It's what they've done to countless other species. Trap them in lopsided deals until they're too dependent to resist. Then why entertain it?" asked Dr. Amara Liu, the delegation's chief scientist. She was seated at the table, her dark hair pulled back in a tight braid. Her voice carried the frustration everyone felt. "We should walk away. Refuse to play their game." Elena turned to face her, her tone calm but firm. "Because if we refuse, they'll use it as proof that we're unfit for Concordia membership. They'll block us from the markets, the alliances, and the technologies we desperately need to compete in this galaxy. Walking away isn't an option." Ravi stopped pacing and leaned on the table, his gaze sharp. "So, what's the play? We can't just roll over and let them gut us." Elena allowed herself a small, enigmatic smile. "We play the part they expect us to, desperate, inexperienced newcomers. We sign the deal." Ravi's eyebrows shot up. "Sign the deal? Are you serious?" "We sign it," Elena repeated, "but we do it on our terms." "Amara, can you analyze their technology in detail? Find its weaknesses?" Amara straightened, her eyes lighting up with understanding. "Absolutely. If it's as outdated as it looks, I can reverse engineer it and probably improve it. Elena turned to Ravi. And you, Commander, I need you to prepare our defenses quietly. We won't broadcast what we're doing. Let them think we're helpless while we sharpen the knife. Ravi grinned, his earlier frustration melting into something more dangerous. Now that's a plan I can get behind. Elena stepped back to the hologram, her gaze steely. They think they've cornered us. Let them. We'll give them exactly what they want until they realize it's more than they can handle. Chapter 3. Turning the Tables. Months passed, and the trade deal went into effect. Massive shipments of rare earth minerals and energy-rich tritium flowed from Earth to the Coalition's factories. The Coalition members reveled in their perceived victory, boasting openly about how they had outmaneuvered the humans. But behind the scenes, humanity was hard at work. In the labs of the Earth Alliance, Dr. Amara Liu and her team dissected every piece of alien technology delivered under the trade agreement. They found outdated processors, inefficient power systems, and brittle alloys prone to failure. And yet, buried within the flaws were kernels of insight, ideas that humanity had never considered. Amara worked day and night, driven by the urgency of the situation. Her breakthroughs came in quick succession. Advanced computing algorithms to optimize power output, new materials to reinforce hulls, and weapon systems that were faster and more precise than anything Earth had fielded before. Meanwhile, Commander Ravi Patel oversaw the deployment of these advancements. Earth's fleets were small compared to those of the Coalition, but they were now equipped with cutting-edge technology, human ingenuity layered atop alien concepts. Ravi also trained his crews in unconventional tactics, leveraging humanity's creativity and adaptability. The minerals shipped to the Coalition were not as pristine as they appeared. Amara's team had subtly altered their composition, introducing impurities so minuscule they were nearly undetectable. Over time, these impurities began to wreak havoc on the Coalition's manufacturing systems. Engines stalled, starship hulls weakened, and weapons malfunctioned in critical moments. The first signs of trouble emerged in the Mirren shipyards, where a new fleet of warships failed its initial trials. The Crowther mining conglomerate soon followed, reporting massive losses as their equipment degraded unexpectedly. Panic began to spread among the Coalition members, but they were too proud and too suspicious of one another to admit their vulnerability publicly. Elena watched the chaos unfold with quiet satisfaction. During a tense Concordia Council session, the Crowther ambassador accused humanity of sabotage. These impurities are deliberate, Grelnik's Seven thundered, his crystalline form quivering with anger. Earth must answer for this treachery. Elena remained calm, her expression one of polite confusion. Treachery? Ambassador, the minerals we provided are exactly as described in the agreement. If your systems are incompatible, perhaps you should examine your own processes. The chamber erupted in argument. Some species sided with the Coalition, but others, wary of the Coalition's history of exploitation, began to question their motives. As the Coalition scrambled to recover, humanity struck its next blow. Ravi Patel led a series of strategic operations, using Earth's newly enhanced fleet to devastating effect. In one engagement near a contested mining outpost, Ravi deployed decoy ships to lure a Coalition fleet into an asteroid field. There, hidden drones launched a coordinated strike, crippling the enemy without a single human casualty. News of humanity's victories spread quickly. The Coalition's once unassailable power began to falter, and whispers of rebellion stirred among their own exploited vassal species. In the privacy of the embassy, Ravi toasted Elena with a glass of Earth-made whiskey. "They thought they were playing us," he said, his grin wolfish. Elena raised her glass in return, her smile cold and victorious. And now they're learning what it means to underestimate humanity. Chapter 4. The Price Paid. The coalition's unraveling was as swift as it was chaotic. The Krelther, the Mirren, and their allies had grown complacent over centuries of unchallenged dominance. They were unprepared for the relentless precision of humanity's countermeasures. In the contested systems on the edges of Concordia-controlled space, Earth's fleets moved like phantoms. Human ships, now upgraded with reverse-engineered alien technology, outperformed their counterparts in speed, durability, and firepower. More importantly, humanity employed strategies that left coalition commanders baffled. Decoy tactics, guerrilla strikes, and unconventional maneuvers that turned the coalition's rigid formations into sitting targets. The Battle of Daelon Verge became a turning point. A Krelther fleet of 30 warships intercepted what they believed was a convoy of unarmed human transport vessels. They had underestimated the ingenuity of Commander Ravi Patel. "What are those transports doing?" asked the Krelther fleet captain, his crystalline skin glowing faintly as he watched the human ships on his tactical display. The human convoy was moving erratically, scattering in all directions. Before the captain could give the order to attack, dozens of small drones launched from the transports, each armed with electromagnetic disruptors. They weaved through the Krelther ships like a swarm of hornets, disabling engines and weapon systems with surgical precision. Within minutes, the fleet was crippled, left adrift and powerless. When word of the defeat reached the coalition's council members, panic set in. Trade routes became unsafe, factories lay idle, and vassal species began openly rebelling against their overlords. The coalition's unity fractured as each member sought to blame the others for their failures. Back on Helion Prime, the council chamber was a cacophony of accusations and denials. Grelnik 7, the Krelther ambassador, slammed a crystalline fist on his podium, sending a sharp, ringing sound through the hall. "This is an act of war," he bellowed. "Humanity must answer for these attacks." Ambassador Elena Marquez stood calmly at her place, a faint smile on her lips. "Act of war? Ambassador, I remind you that humanity has adhered to the terms of the agreement. The disruptions to your fleets and factories are unfortunate, but they are hardly our doing." The Mirren ambassador hissed, "Do not play coy, human. You have manipulated this council, turned our own systems against us." And yet, Elena interrupted smoothly, "Your coalition signed the very agreements you now decry. Perhaps the fault lies not with us, but with your inability to foresee the consequences of your own actions." The chamber erupted in chaos as neutral delegates began to question the coalition's credibility. Humanity, once seen as naive and inexperienced, was now viewed as a cunning player on the galactic stage. Epilogue. The Last Laugh. 5 years later, the human embassy on Helion Prime had expanded significantly, a testament to Earth's rising influence. The once modest suite of offices had been replaced by a sleek, modern structure that stood proudly among the other embassies. Its design was unmistakably Terran, with clean lines, solar glass, and a living wall of greenery that symbolized Earth's resilience. Elena Marquez, now the first human representative on the Concordia High Council, stood on the embassy's balcony, gazing out at the glittering expanse of the capital city. Beside her, Commander Ravi Patel nursed a glass of whiskey, his uniform now adorned with the insignia of a fleet admiral. "They still glare at us in the council chamber," Ravi said with a chuckle, gesturing toward the distant spires where the Concordia convened. "The Krelther especially. You'd think they'd learn by now." Elena smiled faintly, her eyes fixed on the horizon. "They underestimated us once. That was their mistake. They won't do it again. Ravi leaned on the railing, his grin turning wolfish. Do you ever feel bad for what we did to them? Elena tilted her head thoughtfully. Bad? No. They sought to exploit us. We merely turned their own arrogance against them. If anything, we taught them a valuable lesson. Humanity is no one's pawn. In the years since the coalition's collapse, humanity had solidified its position in the Concordia. Earth had forged alliances with other marginalized species, offering them protection and sharing the technological advancements born from their struggle. Together, they had reshaped the balance of power, creating a more equitable galaxy. As the stars began to shimmer against the evening sky, Ravi raised his glass in a toast. To Earth, to resilience, and to teaching the galaxy that humans don't take kindly to being underestimated. Elena clinked her glass against his, her smile unwavering. To humanity, she said softly. Far above, the orbital map of the galaxy shimmered in the embassy's holographic display. Once a backwater on the fringes, Earth was now a force to be reckoned with, a symbol of adaptability, ingenuity, and the price of arrogance. They had wanted to take advantage of humans. Instead, they had paid the price.